My name's Rabbi Lance J. Sussman from Reform Congregation Knesset Israel in Elkins Park, and it's my pleasure to address you briefly with a word of Torah about this coming new year that will begin this Friday. And I want to thank my good friend of many years, Rabbi Ken Canner, your director, for inviting me. In the Reform tradition, we use the Torah reading for the second day of Rosh Hashanah for our primary Torah reading. It is from the book of Genesis, chapter 22, and it tells the story of the binding of Isaac, which has many interpretations, perhaps most importantly as a template for Jewish martyrdom. When we think of the Jews being loaded onto cattle cars and going quietly to their deaths in the concentration camp, some people have criticized them for passivity, but our tradition teaches us that there can also be a dignity in martyrdom, and they derive that from the story of Abraham sacrificing Isaac on Mount Moriah and willingly stretching the neck. In our own times, I think that this story has an additional application and meaning. The first verse in Hebrew reads as follows: Vayehi achar hadivarim ha'ela v'ha'Elohim nisa et Avraham. And it came to pass after all these things that God tested Abraham. I'm sure Ken remembers from his year in Ulpan at the beginning of rabbinic school how we all studied this text as an introduction to Torah. The word that sticks out for me is the word nisa, which means tested. And God tested Abraham. A great deal of theological speculation has gone into understanding what the word nisa means. It seems to me in our own time, we all feel the impact of nisa, of being tested. Since early this calendar year, when life as we knew it basically shut down because of the threat of COVID, each of us has felt tested in our own way. It's an existential test. So many of us are cut off from our families. Many of us, particularly the elderly, are living in almost complete isolation and relying on electronic technology for communication. And we really don't know how this is going to end, although we must remain hopeful. Vayehi acharei hadivarim ha'ela v'ha'Elohim nisa et Avraham. And after all these things, all these months, these 7-8 months of quarantine, we do feel disconnected. We mourn for much of the life which we no longer can live, and pray for its full restoration in time with the help of science and public health. It is important, therefore, at the holidays, beginning with Rosh Hashanah, that we pray for strength, that we pray for courage and patience, that in this time of personally and collectively being tested, of our families being tested and our synagogues being tested, that we remain strong, that we remain committed to our ancient faith, that we turn to our prayers and our holidays and our opportunities to exercise our faith to endure this terrible test. I believe that Judaism has given us many of those tools, and I hope that the followers of our tradition, and particularly in the Reform tradition, will turn to their prayer books, will return to the Union Prayer Book, And we'll read these prayers of hope and strength and courage, and find in them the ability to bear this test. I believe we can do it. And on the other end, we will endure, we will prevail, and we will return to life in its fullness. Shana Tova, a good year to all.